All right, final show of the 2025 season. Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. SNL Live Super Bowl week. We'll be live at Spanky's 2 weeks from today for the SNL NFL Combine send-off. We want to see you there. We got some prizes to give away at the greatness that is Spanky's. Spanky's also has you covered for the Super Bowl with the pizza, the wings. Strong recommendation there. And the other stuff they have to offer. So take advantage of the greatness that is Spanky's and join us there in 2 weeks.
It's going to be a blast. We're going to get you ready for free agency, for the draft. We've got some fun draft stuff associated with it. Like Landry said, giveaways, great food and cold beer and all the fantastic stuff you've come to know and expect from Spanky's.
All right. So the Super Bowl, I feel like, is going to put D'Amico Ryans against Nick Caserio, I would think. Now, I don't know who D'Amico's rooting for. I would assume he would like to see Kubiak's son do well. I would assume he would. And I would assume Nick Caserio wants his former player and his former team, New England, and his buddy Josh McDaniels and all them. I would assume he wants them to do well. I can never be sure, though. Sometimes you underestimate pettiness and whatever may or may not have happened behind the scenes. But I would assume that Nick Caserio will be rooting for the Patriots and D'Amico Ryans will be rooting for the Seahawks.
That seems like a pretty safe estimation and guesstimation. He has to have – I mean, he never coached with Clint Kubiak, but he has to have obviously met Clint Kubiak a gazillion times, Clint being Gary's son and Gary having coached D'Amico. So there's got to be that affiliation. I just can't see any scenario where – D'Amico would be like, yeah, sure, it's cool with me if the Patriots win. I just don't – not that he would like – even if he didn't have a rooting interest, I think he'd be like, yeah, F the Patriots. Don't want to see them win. Just – I don't think anybody wants to see the Patriots win except for Patriots people.
But, I mean, he does have the relationship with Vrabel and he does have the relationship with McDaniels and all that. So I would – No, I'm talking about Caserio.
Oh, I'm talking about D'Amico. I'm saying even if it wasn't the Seahawks, I think he'd be rooting against the Seattle Seahawks or against the New England Patriots. I don't think anybody wants to see the Patriots win, except for former Patriots people like Nick Caserio.
Yeah, but you think Nick Caserio would admit it, or you think he would say he didn't have a dog in the fight?
I think he'd do one of those like political Caserio answers where he's like, "We're not really worried about who wins the Super Bowl. We're just trying to get there ourselves. We're trying to work on ourselves. You know, the outcome of the game doesn't affect us." I think he'd have one of those, but I think deep down he's rooting for the Patriots. I think it's one of those things too where he tried to go like too far this week, trying to say like, "Oh, the Patriots stuff was not cool to him," but you know, he's worried about now and the future. Like, "Oh, I don't even look at my 6 Super Bowl rings. I don't even put them out. I don't display them. They're nice trinkets of the past." Like, okay, doth protest too much. Yeah, I think you still like the Patriots a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other thing that I think is interesting, it's the battle of the two D'Amico Caserio systems. It's the Kubiak system versus the Patriot system. The ultimate example of the Patriot system. I find that a little bit interesting.
Yeah, that's. I mean, D'Amico Ryans has made no secrets about how he has an affinity for that style of offense that the Seahawks run when he's talked about Shanahan or when he's talked about Clint Kubiak and the style of offense that they run. Or obviously that's what an offshoot of it is what they ran in his first 2 seasons. And now he gets to, you know, if he watches the game Sunday, he gets to watch a advanced, evolved, changed, better operated version of what his team currently has right now. So that's something to, you know, hey, Nick Haley, I'm watching this game here. How come we can't do some of this stuff? Huh? How come we can't do what Josh McDaniels is doing?
Yeah, that is kind of like, hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. That's like the D'Amico Caserio, because I do think it was a compromise with D'Amico to go back to the Patriot way. And I did find it kind of fascinating when D'Amico was talking this year about the Kubiak system, just how infatuated he was and how in-depth he was and how much he like really just loved the thought that goes into it from the play action and all that, the gaps, it just felt like it feels like D'Amico. I don't think he's a very passionate guy. Like when he speaks, I think it's kind of just like he'll get passionate when he's talking about players, but for the most part, I think he overthinks it. I don't think he's real authentic when he goes up there at the podium. But there's like a certain level of like glow that emerged during the Kubiak thing.
They will run that system again for their offensive system. It may be next year. It may be 2 years from now. Like D'Amico Ryans will not finish out as a head coach before he runs that system and that style of offense again. I don't know who the coordinator is. Don't ask me to predict when it happens or who the guy is calling the plays over on offense. But my hunch is when they're done with Nick Caley, they're going back to a Kubiak Shanahan style of system, offshoot, whatever you want to phrase it, however you want to phrase it. That's what I think D'Amico Ryans is most comfortable with his offense.
Where is your Super Bowl jealousy? Where does your Super Bowl jealousy lie?
I was looking through this with the Seahawks, and they've cultivated and put together what turned out to be a pretty decent offensive line. 4 of their 5 offensive linemen were draft picks, and their 5th guy, their center, was an undrafted free agent 2 years ago. They went out there, drafted well, developed these guys, stuck with them through some rocky times. I don't think it ever got like super rocky where it's like, got to get this guy out of here. But an undrafted free agent from last year is their starting center. A first-round pick from a small school, FCS program that Casario's never drafted from is their starting left guard. And then they nailed those other draft picks, and they've turned into solid to good football players at left tackle, right guard, and right tackle. And with all the misses the Texans have had, I'm pretty jealous that the Seahawks have had those hits, let it develop, and it's worked out as well as it has for them.
That's your jealousy. Yeah, the offensive line. I figured you would go there when it comes to the offensive line. I think there's just an overall jealousy in the fact that it's kind of similar processes that got further along at the snap of a finger with teams that have stuff to hang their hat on in the last 10, 15 years. Like the Texans have never been to the conference championship. Both these teams have won bowls during that time. They've been to multiple bowls. And to see 2 teams that hired defensive-minded coaches after the Texans hired theirs and really not as much draft equity as the Texans had, not as good a cap situations, to see them actually on this big stage now, that's really where my jealousy is. It's kind of a combination of that. And, oh, by the way, quarterbacks that are in their first year with their team and their second year, respectively. So that's where it's kind of my jealousy comes out. Like if we were watching, say, Josh Allen, like try to get over the hump, like it would kind of make sense because I always use the you're in line before them theory. Like that would kind of make sense. If we were watching Stafford and McVay get back and try to win another one, then that would kind of be like easier to accept. But like I feel like there's kind of an undertone when Nick Caserio speaks. I don't think D'Amico does it as much, but I think there's kind of when Caserio speaks, like he mentions, CJ's only 24 years old, and it's like, okay, well, like we've seen.
I don't care how old he is.
Yeah,
I don't give a damn. That doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, but you hear him say that, and then you hear him talk about that the last 3 years, and it's almost like it's like I don't know if the word patience or like process is brought up, but for all the bullshit about process that we've talked about for the last 5 years, including 2 years where we just completely wiped away results, these teams have completely just boom overhauled. Like we were talking, think about this, Cody. This is kind of how crazy it is New England wise. So we were talking about like the CJ Stroud trade, and we were sitting here and we were saying, damn, or the Deshaun Watson trade, excuse me. And we were sitting here and we were saying, damn, man, if they would have made that trade in 2021, that would have been a complete and total disaster. My God, who knows where you would be? You would have ended up with Zach Wilson or Trey Lance or Mac Jones. Patriots drafted Mac Jones, and they've already moved on, and they're in the freaking Super Bowl. Like, so that when you hear this, And I remember when Easterby used to be like, oh, we're the youngest organization in the NFL. Yeah, dude, shut the fuck up. Like it's a league where you can turn it around like that. Like the two expansion teams before that, Carolina and Jacksonville, I think they were in the conference championship, if I'm not mistaken, like year 2. Like I think Seth Payne was a part of that squad. So like that's where my Super Bowl jealousy is we get preached process, but these teams that could very well be behind you when it comes to the process, they're ahead of you. And they didn't have, and if you go back to 3 years ago, they didn't have the equity that you had, the draft equity. They didn't have the salary cap space that you had, and they're ahead of you.
Well, the two very important things. They have better quarterbacks, and they nailed their support system around their quarterback, from the offensive coordinator to the everything else. Like they've given their quarterback a lot to work with. CJ also has a lot to work with and has had a lot to work with, but the offensive coordinators are better in both of those situations, and the quarterbacks are better in both those situations. So that's the primary reason they're ahead of the Texans. Like the Texans have a better defense than both these defenses that are playing Sunday. Their defense is better. You can argue this or that, argue with a wall. The defense the Texans have is better. But the Patriots and the Seahawks both have better play callers. They both have better quarterbacks, and they both have gone about their business to minimize the opportunity for their quarterback to screw it up.
And I think that, damn this button. And I think that
you spill some Taco Bell on it.
No, I did not. But I do have some Taco Bell hacks after yesterday, by the way. It is a cheat code with what you can do with that menu now. And Taco Bell doesn't sponsor us. But the thing about this is that I don't disagree with what you're saying. Like I don't disagree with what you're saying that the Texans defense is better than these two. And don't go off on me yet on the but I will say this, and it's kind of agreeing. I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but I'm kind of trying to add to it. But if the Texans defense, like in old school wrestling style, went to the ring and said, I want to challenge any other defense in the back to come out here and show me what they're about, I think at the very least, the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots music might hit. And they might actually be able to like defend themselves and talk about their defense. Like, so they have good defenses, and I'm sure they would make cases that, no, this is like our defense is good. The Texans offense, you can't even go out there and even like put yourself in the same category as either one of these offenses. I know some will say, well, New England, are you kidding me? Look, those playoff stats are completely skewed, and the way in which they play and the way in which they're coached, it's a different level, and their quarterback is on a different level than the Texans quarterback right now at this point. So I think that gap, I think I'm kind of just like, I'm getting to the point where the offense is probably my biggest jealousy. Like offense, and that's every time I watch college football. That's every time. Hell, I've watched some high school games.
I've been saying that for 2 years.
But why?
We watch football every Saturday and Sunday. It's easy. It looks easy. Caserio himself, he tripped up, but he said it, and he didn't mean to say it, but he said it. He said, offense is about being in space, and defense is about taking that space away. And I'm like, offense is about in space. You never get the ball to anybody in space. They run Woody Marks in the middle, runs to nowhere. Nick Chubb runs to nowhere. They pack everything in there nice and tight on offense. And offense about space. Then why didn't your offense do it? Here's jealous of offense. I'm watching fucking Maction on Tuesday nights. I'm like, God, these guys are pretty good. They can move the football. Western Michigan or whatever the hell. Central Michigan, the Chippewas, whatever the hell whatever teams in the MAC these days.
The other thing about it is that you can it feels like, I guess there was a good stretch with Deshaun for a while. Like, I guess you could say 17-20 was perhaps a little bit of an escape, although 2018 was kind of stale. 2019 they kind of opened it up a little bit, but it does feel like this has just been the case for like a long time. With few escapes, but it does feel like the offense has just kind of felt that way.
There have been so many in the history of this franchise. There have been so few years where the offense is well put together and well operated. Like and even some of the Deshaun years, I'd have a hard time telling you that it was well put together. I think Deshaun just made it work a couple of times.
Fair,
but I wouldn't say that it was well put together. Like there've been, I don't know, a couple of Matt Schaub years. Like I had low expectations for a couple of those quarterbackless O'Brien years, and they were, average to okay at times. Deshaun had some nice moments in CJ in 2023, but outside of that, we've pretty much in Houston watched pretty bad offense.
Yeah, I would agree. Next question here. It is SNL. Join us on the 20th at Spanky's. Are the Texans closer to replicating the Seahawks or the Patriots? God. I guess the Seahawks. And I'll say it this way. The defense we don't even need to really worry about, but I think you have Nico Collins, who's a good player. He's not as good as JSN right now. Remember when that was like an offensive statement early in the year? But you have decent receivers. I think CJ Stroud can play to the caliber of where Sam Darnold is. I know Sam Darnold's better the last 2 years, but I don't think it's like too far-fetched to think that CJ can play at that level. I think that's fair to think. And maybe you get better RBs. Now, I know where you're going to go with this is the offensive line. You're kind of a little bit far away from doing what they got. And I don't know that Nick Caley is ready to quite establish an identity like Kubiak is, where it's weird because you can make cases that like Seattle hasn't been able to run the ball at times this year. But a lot of times they just use play action, and the threat of the run like opens up the pass so many times. So it's like there's like a gray area with their lack of run production. There's just not really like a ton of gray area with the Texans offense. So I would say Seattle, because I don't know that New England is. I think it's just we'll see what happens when they actually get tested, but. It's not. I don't think it's anything close to what the Texans really do.
I would say it's Seattle as well, because this quarterback is playing the best football he's going to play in his career. Like I don't know if Sam Darnold's playing any better than he has the past 2 seasons. So that's to me the biggest element of, hey, he's playing the best football of his career. CJ's going to have to play the best football of his career in the next couple of years if he wants to stay in a Texans uniform. So I think that'd be a big element. They've got at least a tentpole piece on the offensive line in Ariante Ursary. It took a few years for the Seahawks to put it together, but the Texans could accelerate that by making the correct free agent acquisition and getting a little bit of luck with maybe a draft pick and a guy being ready to go right away. Wide receivers, I mean, I like their wide receiver core and what they have. Maybe you round it out with a skill position or a type of skill that maybe you don't currently possess, like maybe an outside burner, because Jalen Noel on the inside so much. And then if you got another running back and you got better at tight end, you'd be a little bit closer to Seattle. I think it's closer to Seattle because there's a chance May is an even better quarterback than what he showcased this year, and he could continue to get better and better, and they're going to put more stuff around him that's better than what they have now. It's not Stefon Diggs in his twilight years and some guy named Pop Douglas and the last legs of Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper. Like, it's going to be better around him in the coming years, which should allow him to elevate his play even more. So I think he's got the best football ahead of him. So that's why I feel like the Texans could be closer to the Seahawks, because CJ's going to have to play his best football in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. So we agree on that here on the final show of 2025 on the chat.
Swarm.
Bo says Houston native living in Dallas now. any shot at a live stream in DFW. Watching Seattle and New England have such quick turnarounds is absolutely depressing. When when
will it be our time? This is BS.
Okay. When will it be our time? I'm sick of this BS. I don't know. We've talked about Austin, maybe Dallas, who knows? But yeah, I mean, it is BS watching this offense. There's no doubt about it.
And the Seahawks never, I mean, they never bottomed out like the Patriots did. The Patriots had two picks in the top 5. Like Seattle kind of coasted, took a little dip, and then got back. So it's like a little bit different. They had to retool, got a new head coach, got off of an old, long-time head coach, changed their quarterback. Like theirs is different than New England, but it just goes to show you don't have to be really bad to fix it if you nail a couple of different things. And the Texans maybe can make that move up in the standard if they just nail a couple of things.
Shout out to Bo. We appreciate you. My friend up there, up 45 in D-Town. Did you make anything? Do you have any thoughts on the MVP vote? Felt like it was a little bit, I know my boy Sam voted for Justin Herbert. Got some crap for it. I thought that I think, I don't care what he says, that was a good for the show thing that he did. That was kind of a reach. But I mean, I felt like they got it right with Stafford. Did you think that they got it wrong? Drake May, whatever.
I would have voted for Stafford. Yeah, so I feel like they got it right, and he would have been my all-pro quarterback, first-team quarterback, and he'd have been my MVP vote as well. So I think they got it right, and statistical excellence is going to win out a lot of times, and that's what Stafford brought to the table this year.
Yeah, he did his thing for sure. And Drake May.
Do you remember in the preseason when we were like, is he even going to play? Like, he's back.
Yeah, he had an epidural, and I was like, oh, that's good.
There's like it was like the pendulum swing of like, hey, backs are like career ending to it's like, actually, you're the MVP.
Yeah, he's getting an epidural. He doesn't know if he wants to play, and then boom, okay, he's fine.
And then he was doing some goofy like light therapy medicine or something, and people were making fun of him, and it's like, oh, well, all he did was go out there and throw for 4,000, almost 5,000 or 4,700 yards and 46 touchdowns, and basically kick everybody's ass all year long.
Yeah,
so it's a good job by Stafford fighting through the back thing. But I can remember in the preseason just being like, yeah, the Texans defense going to get to him. He's got a hurt back. And
yeah. This is the wrong defense to go against and all that. Well, I mean, they didn't need too many points to win the game. They just couldn't put up enough. Like it wasn't like the Rams just completely lit it up. Remember, Sean McVay ran and punted on 3rd and 10 in a 1-possession game. That's how little respect he had for what Nick Caley was bringing. And that was thought that it might be the Rams offense too. Remember?
Yeah. That was one of only 2 games he threw less than 2 touchdowns. Was against the Texans, and he didn't need much more than that.
Yeah, no doubt. St. Louis Rebel the Beast.
Swarm
up there in the Lou. Shout out to
very generous. Thank you.
Always the man. He says at this point, they just need to load up the offense with a lot of talent around CJ. I concur. Like the Lions did around Goff or the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. He's the type of QB you got to carry. I agree. And I think most QBs, like the more talent, the better. But yeah, Jalen Hurts became a championship caliber quarterback when you already had a good receiving core, but Saquon Barkley kind of set it off. And Jared Goff became a very close championship quarterback once you added Gibbs and you added Laporta. So you just gotta surround him with the right people. Now, I will say, I don't think Ben Johnson is walking through that door when it comes to the Texans. But yeah, I think that's a good point. I think for the most part, you want to surround quarterbacks. But yeah, this is not I don't know if CJ's an elevator at this point. I think that's fair to say. I don't think he's an elevator.
I also don't want to belabor the point that has become my niche, but the Eagles and Lions have pretty damn good offensive lines too.
Well, then maybe that's Maybe that's part of it too.
I mean, the Eagles had the best offensive line in football the year they won. And then the Lions, I mean, they got maybe the best offensive lineman in football in Penei Sewell.
Yeah, that's
so it's, you know, you want to be run first offense, you better be able to move some bodies. They couldn't move any bodies in New England.
Patrick says he's not an elevator, he's a crock pot. Shout out to you again, St. Louis Rebel. He's in the crock pot reference from CJ Slow Build. Appreciate you, St. Louis, for real.
Yeah,
so let's look back at some of the big splashes that have been made in the offseason by Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans. And let's just look back at these moves, and let's talk about if we could see any big moves in the future. Let's look back at the Stefon Diggs trade. How do you look back now that time has passed at the Stefon Diggs trade and the trade that was made?
I think there's two little segments of it, because when they first made the trade, I was like, I'm pretty interested to see how this goes. Like, it's a guy that, you know, maybe hasn't always been the most fun teammate to be around, but they get Stefon Diggs, and I was like, okay, like looking at the contract, I was like, pretty affordable. Like, he didn't have to, you don't have to move on from him after a year. And then they jacked the contract up and made it basically a 1-year deal. And I was like, all right, well, here we go. Like, this is kind of a push a lot of chips in to the middle. I liked the move. It didn't work out, but I liked the move. I liked it less after they did the contract adjustment.
Yeah, so for me, I looked at it as essentially trading back 19 spots and getting Stefon Diggs, because there was two parts to it. They actually made the trade with the Vikings before, to where they had the extra pick in the second round. So it was essentially, if you factored in, it was trading back 19 spots. I do kind of wonder if they overpaid, though, because it does kind of seem like there was no leverage with Buffalo. And I got to think Buffalo was pretty pleased with what they ended up getting. Now, they ended up drafting Coleman instead of Ladd McConkey, and I'm sure they probably regret that. But
that was the coach, though. He's gone. They'll figure it out now in Buffalo.
But I didn't hate the move. I'm not going to hold the injury against him. The contract was weird. I did think it was fine being a 1-year deal, but the whole contract handling of it was really, really weird. But I don't look at the Diggs trade as like some sort of massive mistake, really.
Yeah, I don't think it was a mistake at all. I think the adjustment on the contract, and again, I don't know if that was something they felt like they had to do that off season to make this or that work, or they only wanted it to be a 1-year.
They're just kind of soft, dude. Like the Texans organization is just overly soft. Like there's a couple things they do where you're like, okay, they stuck their chest out, but for the most part, like they're pretty soft. Like you have I can't remember the last time they got the most out of a trade. I know the Watson trade, that wasn't even them. Like he had a no trade clause. So I mean, you basically, it's not like you really did much with it. Like I guess you laid it out well, but like firing Bobby Slowick, cool, I guess. Getting rid of CJ Gardner-Johnson, I don't know that you really had a choice. I guess that was kind of affirmed, but I mean, at that point it had just blown up, and I think he basically wanted out. But like the way they've handled the Joe Mixon thing, the way that they just basically the Stefon Diggs thing, oh, hey, let's void the years on your contract, and like it's just they don't really put their feet in the ground. Like I'm almost wondering like how they're going to handle when they have to make these tough decisions and square up with some players, because they don't, like Dameon Pierce was here 4 years, Cody.
They rarely play hardball.
Never.
They rarely play hardball.
Never. They're soft. Like they are a very like soft coddling organization. They're not the good organizations can play some hardball, and then they end up getting,
they could use some ruthlessness.
Like if I'm Azeez Al-Shire, I'm holding out. I don't know that he's going to have to.
Yeah, he probably gets an extension.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to have to, but yeah, the Diggs thing was just interesting. Like, okay.
Yeah, the Diggs move, it made sense, and then it made a little less sense when they did the contract thing because you were going to have him for, I think, 3 more seasons with no guaranteed money left on the contract. And it's like,
yeah, that's beneficial to you.
Yeah, like that's a great situation to have with a guy like Diggs, who's like, oh, we don't know if he wants to hang around more than 1 year, or we want him to hang around more than 1 year.
Yeah, you have that. Like Stingley, it was like, okay, here's $5 extra mil, like from the market value, and they'll look at it as, oh, we anticipated it. Well, is that how it works? Like that's never really how it works. So you just threw that up there, which was fine. Sauce Gardner appreciated it. But I just don't. It doesn't feel like they really played hardball. The Diggs thing was just weird. The Mixon thing's kind of strange. Like Mixon got a new contract. Why?
I mean, I'm assuming that their thought was he was going to be available in 2025. I think it was an expiring deal, was it not? I don't remember.
You traded for him, and then he got a new deal right away.
Correct. I didn't think they overpaid for him, though.
Laremy Tunsil had him by the balls for a long time before they finally traded him. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if and when they have to play hardball, how it works. Looking back at the Tunsil trade. So we talked about the Diggs trade, the Tunsil trade.
Yeah, they extended Joe because it was his final year of his deal.
Okay.
So I guess their thought process was they'd have him in 2025 and not pay a bunch.
Oh, yeah? It was going to cost more than $8 million?
I mean, if he had a good season in 2024 and hit free agency, it would have.
Okay. The Tunsil trade, we were always on board with this. This was always like, we said it in the moment that we thought that this was kind of like not an iron sharpens iron type of situation. So we didn't have to rewrite history on this. Like we were always pretty favorable to this. There were probably times where you wondered, did they make a mistake this year? Like if you were not sold one way or the other, but I think this was one of the best things that they did.
And they got pretty good return on it for a guy that was already under contract. And if he'd had only 1 year left on his contract, maybe your return's a little bit less. And they got an opportunity to save a couple of bucks, reshape their offensive line room and take it a different direction. Statistically and results-wise, it paid off for him. And Laremy Tunsil's still very good at what he does and still out there protecting things on the island. And I'm sure going to ask for a whole lot of money this offseason from the Commanders. And the Texans, they publicly on record, hey, there were guys down the road they needed to pay. And then the unspoken element is this guy didn't match the vibe that we wanted going forward.
And they gave Danielle Hunter 30+ mil after. So I know it was just 1 year and it wasn't like a long-term commitment, but they gave Danielle 30 mil right after. So boom. There it was. Is there any other bold move that you could see the Texans making? Like, what does a bold move look like for the Texans this offseason?
I mean, I had some crazy ones that I think you make fun of me for, but then I had like some I could actually see this.
Throw them all out.
Like the craziest, weirdest one, like the process I went through to find this out, to figure this out was I needed a team that was maybe in a little bit of flux. You had to be able to give them some draft pick compensation. And either the team needed the assets or the player might have been unhappy. The biggest, weirdest one that is just goofy and, I think you'd make fun of me for is obviously Justin Jefferson. But I don't think that one's realistic. It feels like they're going to try to figure some stuff out in Minnesota. I mean, he's out here. He gets asked, like, it's amazing you got to 1,000 yards this year. He goes, yeah, I know it is amazing I got to 1,000 yards. There were some weeks I had 2 catches. It's like, okay, well, you clearly hate the situation you're in right now. But that one's one of those, like, pie in the sky mad and, like,
he said, I don't have the quarterback to be in the same company as those guys.
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy probably not going to be the starter next year.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. So then after I, got done, with the fairy dust, I got more realistic, got down to earth here. And I focused primarily on offense, but I had some defensive players sneak in there too. The top one for me was trade for Devon Achane. 'Cause I think Devon Achane is a The Dolphins are in a little bit of a retool. They've got other running backs on the roster. They don't have a quarterback. They've got one wide receiver. They don't have any tight ends. Like, they could use the assets. Now, they're not lacking for assets right now, but Devon Achane, go get him. I think it was third in receiving yards amongst running backs last year. Not that the Texans would throw it to him, but he's a game changer. He can take it to the house anytime he touches it. Devon Achane was the one that I came up with.
God, they could have had him too.
The biggest top one.
They could have had him too.
Him and Woody Marks would be more than enough at running back to get things going in that running back room. And then you fill it out with a young guy and, somebody else that you feel good about. And boom, you got a really nice running back room right there.
Yeah, I would not be opposed to Achane. They definitely got a swing for running back. So I would not be opposed. I don't know that a 2 is appropriate, but yeah, you do bring up a good point with Miami, with maybe some rebuild and all that.
I mean, Miami's not drafting a quarterback this year, probably. So my hunch is they don't want to be like real good this year. They'd love to be in the quarterback conversation next year. And I think another element too, they have former Packers guys running the organization. Packers guys like guys they draft. They don't like free agents. They don't like to make trades. They like guys they draft. So giving them some more assets, and you get one of their best assets off their offense. Achane was my tippity top, my top one.
Devon Achane selected 84th overall. 15 picks after Tank Dell.
They traded up for Tank too, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So that was my top one. That was my top one on offense from a trade perspective, because that's kind of what we were, Tunsil traded, Diggs was a trade. I swung big for the fences on this one, and I think this is absolutely a deal that they should entertain, and the team they're talking to should entertain. You call the Atlanta Falcons, who have the least draft capital of any team in the upcoming draft. They don't have a first-round pick. Their first selection is not till 48. You call the Atlanta Falcons. Chris Lindstrom's one of the best guards in football. He's the right guard. He's taken care of from a contract perspective, so you're not going to have to pay him or, worry about some contract coming down the line in the next couple of years. And you go and get one of the best guards in football, plop him right there at right guard. There's your right guard solution, and you got one less thing to think about on the offensive line. And the Falcons get some draft capital that helps them in whatever situation they're in. I have no idea. They're probably going to tear that thing down and try to work on rebuilding it. But Lindstrom was this guy from Oregon and that guy from Penn State and this from that school. Like, I don't know if any of those guys are any good. I know Lindstrom's good. He's not good. He's great. So plop him right there on the offensive line and just go to work.
Okay. Don't hate that.
And then I went and kind of looked a little bit over on defense if I was thinking about trades. I thought about, okay, what's the one piece of the defense that didn't have really any standout play last year?
Yeah.
And it was the spot next to Kalen Bullock at safety. Falcons again. Jesse Bates, their safety, plays the spot that would be next to Bullock. He's excellent. Been one of the better safeties in football the past few seasons. They need the draft picks. Contract's manageable. And you just turn the defense into an even more superpowered defense than you already have.
Don't hate it.
And I don't think he'd cost that much either. I don't think you're Lindstrom, you're maybe having a convo about the first, but certainly 38. I don't think you need to have a convo about either of those picks that the Texans have if you were going Jesse Bates. And then this one's kind of a luxury because I think the guy's a fun player to watch, and he certainly could plop right in there on the defensive line and make some things happen. Call the Giants and see if they want to move off Dexter Lawrence. And then you have the best. God. And then you have the best defensive line in football.
Yeah, I don't know if they want to do that, but yeah, that dude's a freak.
I mean, He's a monster. He's one of the best interior defensive linemen in football. The idea that I first came up with was
I think they're in win now. I think with Harbaugh, they're in win now.
And that's the thing is they've got three other edge rushers, or they've got 3 edge rushers. They could probably move off of one of those guys and make it work. And they probably don't need to move off of Lawrence, but if they thought they needed a little bit more juice, you could make a deal with them. My first thought was go trade for Jeffrey Simmons, but the Titans would never trade him to you. And Robert Saleh would never trade him.
No, he's going to be the foundation of what they do.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the one. And then the other ones were free agent deals. It was like, stuff we talked about. Sign Tyler Linderbaum, sign Kenneth Walker. Those would be the big swings for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not terrible. Yeah, you weren't too crazy there. Mine is a coaching, and there are 3 steps to it. Kind of rhymes. Retire, hire, fire. Case Keenum retires from football. You hire Case Keenum as your QB coach, and you fire Gerard Johnson. Retire, hire, fire. You can go retire, fire, hire if you want to be more appropriate. I don't know the rules here, but I think Case Keenum's ready to be a QB coach. I think he's basically been a QB coach for a while. I think he was essentially a QB coach for CJ Stroud in 2023. I think it's inevitable that once he retires, if that ever happens, it's a big if, he's going to be a coach. I think DeMeco Ryans likes Case Keenum. I think a lot of guys in that locker room like Case Keenum. And I think QB coach is unique in that I think it is basically what a lot of backups are doing, especially the vets that really you don't want to step on the field. So if Case Keenum decides he wants to retire, fire Gerard Johnson, hire Case Keenum, or just bring him in. I don't even know if that's bold. I just feel like that's common sense, but that would be.
And if you're Case Keenum and you want to get on the coaching accelerated program, be the guy that fixed a QB that was broken. And all of a sudden, everybody be knocking down your door to be the OC. And then before you know it, you're a head coach. And there you go. Your coaching dreams come true faster than anything.
Yep. I'm there for sure.
I like that. That's not even that bold.
Even if you just bring him in, whatever.
Did you see that future Houston Texans offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury got a job today?
He's working in LA with Sean McVay. He's on the Sean McVay rehab plan. He's basically on the NFL version of the Nick Saban rehab plan.
Yep.
And yes, he will probably be getting an opportunity relatively soon. The guy who the Texans interviewed in 2023.
Go ahead and make it 3 for 3. You have hired all 3 of the guys that you interviewed in 2023. If Kingsbury's available a year from now.
Yes.
Well, we interviewed Bobby, Kaylee, and Kingsbury, and then we hired Bobby, Kaylee, and then Kingsbury.
Yep. No doubt.
Don't do that. Maybe just do it. I don't know. Shit. If Kaylee's awesome and gets a job, cool. If he sucks and you got to fire him, cool. If he's okay, fire him and try something else.
All right. So you're saying that I need Mike Vrabel needs to listen to me. What does this mean?
Ooh, man. So you've talked before about how you had a little run in with the old energy drinks. Vrabel takes it to a whole nother level. You familiar with pre-workout?
No.
So like pre-workout, it's usually a powder you mix in your water, you drink it before you work out, and it kind of gets you juiced up to hit the workout. Gives you a little bit of energy, helps you focus a little bit, stuff like that. So there's this pre-workout powder called C4. And Vrabel uses that as his energy drink in the morning. But he doesn't just take it once. He walks around and he explains to the players when he's gone from C4 to C8 to C12, meaning 3 times the intended dose of the pre-workout, which this is like, these pre-workouts are like drinking 2-3 energy drinks at once. And he's pounding 3 times that in one day. Sometimes at one time. I think you got to sit down with Vrabel and let him know, hey, this ain't good for you, Mike.
Yeah, that's not really a good thing. And as someone who was consuming about 10 a day, it's not the best idea for him. I'm sure he can probably handle it and stay wired up. But yeah, I would definitely not recommend that for Mike Vrabel.
I mean, look, I'm not going to act like I'm some, when I was going to the gym and was consistent with it, I did a little pre-workout and like this stuff makes your face itch and like you get kind of like jittery, like a crackhead. And he's doing 3 times the recommended dosage and telling everybody about it. I'm C12. What a lunatic.
That's crazy.
What a lunatic.
Absolutely crazy.
I saw that and I was just like, the more you hear about Vrabel, the more he's just a lunatic.
Yeah, he's psycho.
He's just a lunatic.
Be interesting. He might put on like some sort of coaching clinic. For sure.
I mean, I think it's Seahawks big is my thought.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Seahawks big, Kenneth Walker and Jackson Smith and Jigba anytime touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would be surprised if the Seahawks don't win this game, but I mean, Super Bowl, sometimes crazy stuff happens.
Patrick, this is great. The Patriots doctors say it's okay.
For Vrabel, yeah.
Yeah, because they let guys play 2 days after they have a concussion.
Yeah. That's what's up.
Maybe that's the secret over there. They're taking pre-workout before concussion exams.
Yep. All right. We appreciate everyone for rolling through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday, however you so decide to do so. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.